The physical market, that's why, because there's such unbelievable demand. Listen, the bullion dealers can't get away with charging such premiums unless there's huge demand.
Run for the hills, silver and gold investors. This morning, the price of gold, the price of silver, down precipitously on the heels of a shocking employment report from our friends at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. They reported that in the month of April, the U.S. economy created an astounding 253,000 jobs that shocked the market and sent the price of gold and the price of silver plummeting. Should you be concerned? Because they forgot to highlight something very important. In the previous 2 months, they'd also put out shockingly good numbers, but they revised those previous 2-month numbers down by almost 150,000 jobs. So now we've had 13 straight months of good job numbers. Never mind that those previous months, they were overstated by 150,000 jobs. Heck, maybe they moved those jobs to the current month. It's hard to understand just how the Bureau of Labor and Statistics comes up with their number, but all that matters is that the current month looks good. I talked with Peter Grandich about how this affects the silver and gold price. Peter's a respected Wall Street veteran, 4 decades of experience, held in very high regard within the financial services industry, and he had some interesting thoughts.
Just in the last couple of years, how many times have you seen it rated like this? And what happened? And it used to be years ago, it took weeks or months to get back above the number where they rated. Now sometimes it's just hours and no more than a few days. So
yeah, the environment, and you've been watching it longer than I have, but it does feel like it's a different environment right now for the gold price.
Yeah, the physical market, that's why, because there's such unbelievable demand. Listen, the bullion dealers can't get away with charging such premiums unless there's huge demand. I mean, I've never seen the premiums like this over to buy metals, and people are buying it. So
wow. Yeah. Well, and what got me this morning was the employment number, and it was I saw a headline on Yahoo Finance, stunning beat, like this big deal, but they revised the previous 2 months. It's like a shell game.
I did a Twitter post about that, and I said the last 2 months ago they're going to greatly revise this, and I said this is the gimmick. They put out, people estimate a low number because they don't know about the revisions coming.
Yeah.
So the number comes out, it's a beat. Oh, everything's better than we thought. And then they revise it. People don't look back now and go, just look back what people said when those numbers came out 2 months ago.
I know. Right. It's like they took jobs from those previous reports and moved them into this one almost.
You can't have, this is 13 months in a row where the number beat. Now, economists are bad, but they're not that bad. You know what I'm saying? And I just put up a thing. I says, what do you want when a government agency is in charge of putting the number? 1 and 1 could be 3 or whatever they want it to be.
Yeah. And what's going to happen next month? Are they going to revise this number? Right.
Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself, okay, so let's just say the real number came out 2 months ago. Well, remember, the Fed kept raising rates because the employment was supposed to be a lot stronger than we think. But now it really wasn't based on those last few months.
Right. Yeah.
And if they're depending on this, if they're data dependent and data is off this much, but people have to realize, I don't know if you remember, but it was one thing where the ADP was like 200 and something thousand different. And I said, it can't be. You can't have that much of a difference, especially since the ADP doesn't have a political axe to grind.
First Mining Gold is a development company advancing 2 of the largest gold projects in Canada. Springpole in Ontario and Duparquet, located in Quebec, each already has 5 million ounces of gold reserves, but exploration initiatives are underway at both projects to find even more gold. First Mining is well-financed, has zero debt, and owns an interest in 4 additional Canadian gold development projects.
People got to realize in the BLS number, if you're working 2 jobs, so you have 2 part-time jobs, they will count you as 2 people employed when you're really
Right.
1 person employed doing 2 jobs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
a lot of people are finding themselves in a situation now because of the economy that they need to do that they need to work 2 jobs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the BLS numbers have been so poor. And remember, at the beginning of the year, they changed the whole way that they viewed seasonality. Remember, they used phantom numbers. They estimate. This isn't a hard count, like, went out and found these things and all. So they can estimate it any way you want. Now, if I'm working for the government and I could be fired by the government, I'm going to put out numbers, even if I'm a Republican. It's a Republican
Right.
administration. So I've always been leery about government numbers. So
yeah, well, it just gets me that 1 month ago today, there was a great number and it was a beat, and gold probably got beat down. Now today they revised that number, and 2 months ago, same thing. And it's like they can just kind of move these numbers around. But like you said, 13 months in a row now we've had a quote unquote beat on jobs numbers, and it's it's a little.
The futures market is in the gold is really not a place. You got to talk to the physical people, what's happening in the physical market.
Yeah.
Because you'll find today, I'm certain, that bullion deals will tell you, man, sales lit up today. People used the decline in the paper market. And we all know that there's 2 huge short positions. JP Morgan, some people estimate unbelievable amount of short position in gold derivatives. And so it doesn't take a lot in the futures to go sell to create a vacuum. It's worse than liquidity. Sometimes there is worse than in a penny stock.
Yeah.
That's how they can move it down $50 in a day.